if we are not serious about facts and what's true and what's not. And particularly in an age of social media where so many people are getting their information in sound bites and snippets off their phones. If we can't discriminate between serious arguments and propaganda, then we have problems. If people, whether they are conservative or liberal, left or right, are unwilling to compromise and engage in the democratic process and are taking absolutist views and demonizing opponents, then democracy will break down.
Indeed, and I couldn't have said it better myself. It's been repeatedly said that this election is unlike any other. At the release of this video, it's practically been 2 weeks since the official election day. And practically 2 weeks since it's been called for Joe Biden as the winner of the presidential race. And we still don't have an official concession speech from Donald Trump, the current president from the time of this recording. And there's been conspiracies about election fraud. So far, there has been no proof. But I guess it's only fraud if Trump doesn't win. I'll be doing a little less talking in this video, because I want to let the clips speak for themselves about our past presidents and the transfer of power. And there will be concession speeches from the losing candidates. But before we begin, I wanted to mention a couple of videos that I saw right before releasing this one. Both very interesting. One video was from Godless Engineer that talks about the conspiracies about this election and the outcries. You gotta check them out. Links are in the description below. So if you haven't already, go ahead and please check him out and to give him a support. Now let's move on to our video. Oh, don't worry. The other one I'll save for the end. Trust me, you won't regret it, so stay tuned.
Well, I don't think I should comment on what he or the Vice President says. There is an election challenge. Both of them have litigation involved. At least one case involves the U.S. Supreme Court, and the election challenge will play itself out. I will say what I have said from the first day. In all this interplay, it is easy to lose what is really important, which is the integrity of the voter. Every single vote. On election day, every person who voted had a vote that counted just as much as mine. And so they have to sort that out in Florida. Whose votes should be counted? Can every vote be counted? If every vote can't be counted, is there a good reason why you're not counting that vote? And I think those are the things that will be resolved in this election challenge. And I think we just have to let both sides are very well represented, and they all both have litigation, and we'll just watch it play itself out.
Mr. President, so you don't accept Florida's certification of George Bush as the winner?
It's not up for me to accept or reject. There is a legal process here. And both of them have filed lawsuits. And the Supreme Court of Florida, when they issued their opinion a couple of days ago, or a few days ago, actually anticipated the challenge. And if you read the opinion, they explicitly acknowledged that it was almost a certainty. So, you know, let's just watch this now.
I just wanted to clarify something again. I wanted to at least put in the presidents that I can remember, or the elections itself. The 2000 election between Al Gore versus George Bush was one that I can remember, mainly because of the things that happened the years to come. Basically saying that both candidates wanted to take the results to the Supreme Court.
Good evening. Just moments ago, I spoke with George W. Bush and congratulated him on becoming the 43rd President of the United States. And I promised him that I wouldn't call him back this time. I offered to meet with him as soon as possible so that we can start to heal the divisions of the campaign and the contest through which we've just passed. Almost a century and a half ago, Senator Stephen Douglas told Abraham Lincoln, who had just defeated him for the presidency, "Partisan feeling must yield to patriotism." I'm with you, Mr. President, and God bless you. Well, in that same spirit, I say to President-elect Bush that what remains of partisan rancor must now be put aside, and may God bless his stewardship of this country. Neither he nor I anticipated this long and difficult road. Certainly neither of us wanted it to happen. Yet it came, and now it has ended, resolved as it must be resolved through the honored institutions of our democracy. Now the U.S. Supreme Court has spoken. Let there be no doubt, while I strongly disagree with the court's decision, I accept it. I accept the finality of this outcome, which will be ratified next Monday in the Electoral College. And tonight, for the sake of our unity as a people and the strength of our democracy, I offer my concession. I know that many of my supporters are disappointed. I am too. But our disappointment must be overcome by our love of country. And I say to our fellow members of the world community, let no one see this contest as a sign of American weakness. The strength of American democracy is shown most clearly through the difficulties it can overcome. Some have expressed concern that the unusual nature of this election might hamper the next president in the conduct of his office. I do not believe it need be so. President-elect Bush inherits a nation whose citizens will be ready to assist him in the conduct of his large responsibilities. I personally will be at his disposal, and I call on all Americans. I particularly urge all who stood with us to unite behind our next president. This is America. Just as we fight hard when the stakes are high, we close ranks and come together when the contest is done. And while there will be time enough to debate our continuing differences, now is the time to recognize that that which unites us is greater than that which divides us. This is America, and we put country before party. We will stand together behind our new president.
I'm not sure exactly why I wanted Al Gore to win at that moment, and I was just in 3rd grade at that time. But even as young as that, we were still learning about elections. Anyways, let's continue, because that was actually pretty good given concession speech. The next video here is a transfer of power.
This is an exciting time for our country. Earlier this week, more than 120 million people voted for a new president and Congress, one of the largest turnouts in the history of the country. No matter how we cast our ballots, this election gives us all reason to be proud of our democracy and our country. And I hope you will join Laura and me in congratulating President-elect Obama and wishing him the very best for his family and our country. This peaceful transfer of power is one of the hallmarks of a true democracy. And ensuring that this transition is as smooth as possible is a priority for the rest of my presidency. We face economic challenges that will not pause to let a new president settle in. This will also be America's first wartime presidential transition in 4 decades. For more than a year now, departments and agencies throughout the federal government have been preparing for a smooth transition. We provided intelligence briefings to the president-elect, and the Department of Justice has approved security clearances for members of his transition team. In the coming weeks, we will ask administration officials to brief the Obama team on ongoing policy issues, ranging from the financial markets to the war in Iraq. I look forward to discussing those issues with the President-elect early next week. I will be honored to stand with you at the finish line. May God bless you.
There's a certain tone here in this speech. Very hopeful for the future, and excitement about reaching a certain milestone, like having a first president of color, and different background. Almost as if we were living a time past hatred and discrimination. Let's look at the next consensus speech by John McCain.
My friends, we have come to the end of a long journey. The American people have spoken, and they have spoken clearly. A little while ago, I had the honor of calling Senator Barack Obama to congratulate him, to congratulate him on being elected the next president of the country that we both love.
You see, this is a gesture, a simple gesture, that our current president, Donald Trump, can learn, especially from somebody that he called a loser. Anyway, let's take a look at the rest of the clip, and let's pay attention to the crowd.
In a contest as long and difficult as this campaign has been, his success alone commands my respect for his ability and perseverance. But that he managed to do so by inspiring the hopes of so many millions of Americans who had once wrongly believed that they had little at stake or little influence in the election of an American president is something I deeply admire and commend him for achieving. This is an historic election, and I recognize the special significance it has for African Americans and for the special pride that must be theirs tonight. I've always believed that America offers opportunities to all who have the industry and will to seize it. Senator Obama believes that too. But we both recognize that though we have come a long way from the old injustices that once stained our nation's reputation and denied some Americans the full blessings of American citizenship, the memory of them still had the power to wound. A century ago, President Theodore Roosevelt's invitation of Booker T. Washington to dine at the White House was taken as an outrage in many quarters. America today is a world away from the cruel and prideful bigotry of that time. There is no better evidence of this than the election of an African American to the presidency of the United States. Let there be no reason now. Let there be no reason now for any American to fail to cherish their citizenship in this, the greatest nation on earth. Senator Obama has achieved a great thing for himself and for his country. I applaud him for it and offer him my sincere sympathy that his beloved grandmother did not live to see this day.
Maybe it's just me, but there's something about the camera pan and angles that are pretty significant. Notice that most of the shots that we're taking were mainly of white citizens, which I guess kind of tells you about who supported who. McCain is right. It's in this election that made people realize the problems that we're still struggling with. And that problem is discrimination and racism that still runs rampant. And this election made people realize that we still have ways to go.
These are difficult times for our country. And I pledge to him tonight to do all in my power to help him lead us through the many challenges we face. I urge all Americans who supported me to join me in not just congratulating him, but offering our next president our goodwill and earnest effort to find ways to come together, to find the necessary compromises, to bridge our differences, and help restore our prosperity, defend our security in a dangerous world, and leave our children and grandchildren a stronger, better country than we inherited. Whatever our differences, we are fellow Americans. And please believe me when I say, no association has ever meant more to me than that.
John McCain, you might have lost the 2008 election, but that doesn't mean you are the loser. And I hope that somebody does learn that and can actually honor you with respect. So let's take a look at the last transfer of power speech that you can definitely learn from.
I shot a video that some of you may have seen in which I said to the American people, regardless of which side you were on in the election, regardless of whether your candidate won or lost, the sun would come up in the morning. And that is one bit of prognosticating that actually came true. The sun is up. And I know everybody had a long night. I did as well. I had a chance to talk to President-elect Trump last night, about 3:30 in the morning, I think it was, to congratulate him on winning the election. and I had a chance to invite him to come to the White House tomorrow to talk about making sure that there is a successful transition between our presidencies. Now, it is no secret that the President-elect and I have some pretty significant differences. But remember, 8 years ago, President Bush and I had some pretty significant differences. But President Bush's team could not have been more professional or more gracious in making sure we had a smooth transition so that we could hit the ground running. And one thing you realize quickly in this job is that the presidency and the vice presidency is bigger than any of us. So I have instructed my team to follow the example that President Bush's team set 8 years ago and work as hard as we can to make sure that this is a successful transition for the President-elect. Because we are now all rooting for his success in uniting and leading the country. The peaceful transition of power is one of the hallmarks of our democracy. And over the next few months, we are going to show that to the world. Now, everybody is sad when their side loses an election. But the day after, we have to remember that we're actually all on one team. This is an intramural scrimmage. We're not Democrats first, we're not Republicans first. We are Americans first. We're patriots first. We all want what's best for this country. That's what I heard in Mr. Trump's remarks last night. That's what I heard when I spoke to him directly, and I was heartened by that. That's what the country needs. A sense of unity, a sense of inclusion, a respect for our institutions, our way of life, rule of law, and a respect for each other. I hope that he maintains that spirit throughout this transition, and I certainly hope that's how his presidency has a chance to begin.
You can actually see a clip in which Obama welcomes the president. Actually, there was an old conspiracy theory that would say that Obama was just going to turn over and say, screw everybody, I'm doing a third term no matter what. But that didn't happen. And no, he's not the Antichrist. Oh yeah, what was that speech that Obama was talking about? Let's take a listen to it. Let's go back all the way to 2016. At Trumpy's victory speech.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. I've just received a call from Secretary Clinton. She congratulated us, it's about us, on our victory. And I congratulated her and her family on a very, very hard-fought campaign. I mean, she fought very hard. Hillary has worked very long and very hard. Very long and very hard. Very long and very hard over a long period of time. And we owe her a major debt of gratitude for her service to our country. I mean that very sincerely. Now it's time for America to bind the wounds of division. Have to get together. To all Republicans and Democrats and independents across this nation, I say it is time for us to come together as one united people. It's time. I pledge to every citizen of our land that I will be president for all Americans, and this is so important to me.
Well, you definitely had 4 years to show that, and to prove that. Actually, I think that was the only time I've heard him sound so humbly. actually you still have a chance to show the world that you have a pair. Well, let's take a look at one person you can definitely look at an example of how to concede.
Last night, I congratulated Donald Trump and offered to work with him on behalf of our country. I hope that he will be a successful president for all Americans. This is not the outcome we wanted or we worked so hard for, and I'm sorry that we did not win this election for the values we share and the vision we hold for our country. I know how disappointed you feel because I feel it too. And so do tens of millions of Americans who invested their hopes and dreams in this effort. This is painful, and it will be for a long time. But I want you to remember this. Our campaign was never about one person or even one election. It was about the country we love and about building an America that's hopeful, inclusive, and big-hearted. We have seen that our nation is more deeply divided than we thought. But I still believe in America, and I always will. And if you do, then we must accept this result and then look to the future. Donald Trump is going to be our president. We owe him an open mind and the chance to lead. Our constitutional democracy enshrines the peaceful transfer of power. And we don't just respect that, we cherish it. It also enshrines other things: the rule of law, the principle that we are all equal in rights and dignity, freedom of worship and expression. We respect and cherish these values too, and we must defend them. I still believe, as deeply as I ever have, that if we stand together and work together with respect for our differences, strength in our convictions, and love for this nation, our best days are still ahead of us.
Well, I'll be damned. The person you actually defeated, who probably could have made a huge change and difference in this country, has a probably better concession speech than you ever can probably put up in one day. Well, that's all the speeches I have. But what did Obama say about Grandpa Joe during the transfer of power speech?
You know, the path that this country's taken has never been a straight line. We zig and zag, and sometimes we move in ways that some people think is forward and others think is moving back. And that's okay. I've lost elections before. Joe hasn't, but so I've been sort of sharing.
Remember, you beat me badly.
Oh my gosh, Obama called it 4 years ago! Grandpa Joe has not lost an election yet. Insert conspiracy theories! Anyways, that's all I got, everybody. Thank you so much for listening on this, and I hope that things turn out well. But as always, be you, and embrace in self-love. This is Junie. Wait, hold it! What about that second thing I wanted to show? Well, let's roll the clip. I promise you will not be disappointed with this. I definitely had a laugh. Knowing that this might have been retweeted out by the Vice President-elect herself. Something we might actually have to use if Trump doesn't make a speech himself.
My fellow Americans, a short time ago, Joe Biden beat me in the election, and not only did he win, he won by a lot, actually. Therefore, it is time for me to step aside, because let's face it, I wasn't probably on my game, and I wasn't doing so well, and I'm the only president in history to lose the popular vote twice and to get impeached. It's time for a change. Greatest dream in the world is that Joe Biden wins, because the winner of this vote was decided by a fair and open election. Therefore, I humbly concede to Joe Biden. The American people have responded, and they said to me, "You're fired. Bing, get out."